Hi guys, Gareth here, and it's time for a cuppa. That is a damn fine cup of coffee. Hi guys, how you doing? Hopefully you are doing very well. I'm doing particularly well today, actually, and I'll be getting into some things in this video. Some keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that I've been doing this entire introduction with my left hand. However, I am right-handed. So what is it about my right hand that's a little bit different than normal? Well, this, and it looks like I'm flipping off, but honestly I'm not. Yeah, so on Thursday evening / Friday morning at about 20 to 5:45 in the morning, while I was doing nights, I decided to drop a concrete lentil onto my finger. Now most people are going to say ow, and ow is definitely a word I would describe. Most people have said to me, did you swear? Actually, I didn't swear. Actually, I was talking to a couple of colleagues at the time, did what I did, and then went, my finger! And then I ran up the aisle, because I assume I got a sudden burst of adrenaline. I then sort of ran around for a bit, and then went to go and get medical attention from my supervisor, obviously. He then proceeded to clean it out and dress it as much as he could. I then decided to go to the urgent care clinic fairly local to me. It was then that I discovered I'd done a bit more damage than was first apparent. I've actually fractured the tip of my finger, and there is some crumbling when it comes to the bone. So yeah, I've actually done some real damage, and I'm actually going to the fracture clinic tomorrow. Today is Sunday, the 4th, I do believe? No, 5th. The 5th of May. This is Sunday the 5th of May, as I'm currently recording this video. It's a damn fine cup of coffee, I must say. And I will be going to the fracture clinic tomorrow, obviously, for them to do what they need to do. This is actually a dressing that I personally put on here, because there was a dressing, obviously, from the... I'm being texted. See if this is important, shall we? Oh, I'll respond to that in a bit. It's my sister asking how my finger is. I will respond to that a little bit later. Anyway, so where was I? I've completely forgotten where I was. Yeah, so I was in the minor injuries unit, and of course they dressed it because it's classed as an open fracture because there's been a fracture. Because there's a wound involved, it's classed as an open fracture, so therefore they had to dress it as per their rules and policies and regulations, all that fun stuff. So it was dressed with a dressing they gave me. Of course, that has fallen off over the last couple of days, and I've dressed it myself for now. And of course, when I go in tomorrow, I'm assuming the fracture clinic will dress it themselves a bit better. I'm going to drop this camera down ever so slightly, because I'm actually having to sit up a bit, and not being funny, but I actually want to slouch and kind of relax. That's a bit better into this video where I'm having to be up, make sure I'm like completely sat up and in frame. Live production on the go. There's one other thing I want to check I can do with this. Oh, I can. Oh, cool. You can actually change the f-stop aperture, that's what I'm looking for, aperture on the fly, which is something you couldn't do with my previous camera. The more I learn about this camera, the better. This is the, if you don't know what camera I'm shooting on, it's the Panasonic Lumix DMC GH1, which is for what is now an over 10-year-old camera, it's still a phenomenal camera, and there are so many features that are hidden away in the G series of the Panasonic Lumix line that are like allowed, opened up, should I say, on the GH line. I'm going to mute my phone because that is going to get distracting. And also I noticed in my last video that I the phone was going off in the background. So yeah, that's the story about that. Yeah, going to the fracture clinic tomorrow to get it looked at, and obviously they'll decide what they do with it, whether it's splintered to another finger, whether it's just simply dressed and observed, who knows. but I am on light duties at work because I'm not allowed to do any heavy lifting, obviously, because I have broken said finger, and the whole hand is actually a lot weaker than it was before. It's strange what just simply injuring a part of your periphery, you know what I mean, how much weaker the whole hand thing gets. There are times where I go and try and open a door or unscrew something. That's the biggest thing, unscrew something, and I can't do it because there's actually a pain that ends up in my wrist. I must have done some nerve damage or something, and it actually hurts to do certain things. And I'll be going on to that subject a little bit more in a bit. So one thing I wanted to do is show off this in a bit more detail. I did sort of touch upon this in my last video, I think, but I want to touch upon it a little bit more. This is the premium edition of Mortal Kombat 11 that was gratefully bought for me, generously and gratefully. I'm grateful, you know what I mean. Bought for me by a good friend. I thought I'd show it off in a bit more detail in this video. So you got Mortal Kombat 11 there with the Mortal Kombat emblem, insignia, what have you, and then you've got the absolutely brilliant logo. I've said this before, I think in a video, or maybe to someone else, that Ed Boon, the creative director behind Mortal Kombat, has said that they spent a lot of work in this logo, and you can see why it is a damn fine logo. I'm just going to open it up and take out my couple of bits, although I've already claimed them, just in case. And of course on the inside, you've got the Mortal Kombat, again, logo, insignia, whatever, and that's pretty much it. The disc looks pretty much the same as that. It's just a Blu-ray disc, which is obviously my PS4 at the moment, and then of course that's the side of it. And as I've said before, this is actually technically I can actually do, there we go, cool, and then I can just do that and it'll come back to me. Yeah, look at that go. So this is technically a metal pack, but most people regard them as... That was my dad's phone going off, anyway. Oh, how can I put this? If things didn't go wrong and the real life happened in the background, it wouldn't be a YouTube video, would it? Anyway, so I went to the doctors yesterday to get a blood pressure test and a blood test for my high blood pressure, because I do have high blood pressure, and because it was in my city centre, well, close to my city centre I should say, I decided to pop down to my city centre to have a little look around. I did have something specific in mind, but it was pushing my current budget, so to speak. I may buy it next month, we'll see where it goes, and that is a hybrid tablet / laptop thing. I may buy one of those next month, we'll see how things go, but that was kind of thing. So I actually popped to CEX, which is where I was going to buy this hybrid tablet laptop thing from, and didn't have it in stock. So that kind of made my decision for me, and I was sort of just looking around. I went from shop to shop, and to be honest, I wasn't really finding much to take my eye. Now I did have £14/15 worth of voucher at CEX, so I was kind of looking around. And then I came across something. Now I have bought a couple of things very similar to this before, but this is the first one I've bought that's actually compatible with the PlayStation 4 from the outset, and I'll talk about what I mean by that in a little bit. And I thought I'd pick it up and give it a bit of a test with Mortal Kombat 11, and initially I wasn't impressed with it, and we'll get to that in a bit. And I played it with a couple of other related games, shall we say, and I was really starting to enjoy it. What am I talking about? So I decided to pick up the Hori Real Arcade Pro Kai arcade stick, or fight stick if you prefer. If you don't know what a arcade or fight stick is, essentially it allows you to use your whole hand to use all of the different face buttons you typically use, and it gives you a typically a micro switched stick on there, which gives you more exact control. so to speak. If you've ever watched a fighting game tournament of any description, you would of course recognise these, that the professionals tend to use these. Of course, it's not just professionals that use these, there are a whole wide range of these sticks that are aimed squarely at the consumer. So there was a stick for the longest time I was looking at, which was another Hori product, and it's a stick that's catered primarily for Street Fighter 5 usage. The problem with that stick is that it only has 3 buttons on either, above and below. Doesn't have the 4 buttons that this does, and the 4 buttons is kind of essential when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11, which again I'll talk about in a little bit. I was going to buy that. That would have been £30 if I bought that stick. However, it's on the very much the cheap side of sticks, and again I'll get into that in a little bit. And of course, it doesn't have the full range of buttons. I'll say this now. The reason why that is not good for Mortal Kombat 11 or Mortal Kombat General is Mortal Kombat has a block button, and the block button tends to be R2. And plus you can use these buttons as well. Ironically, and again I keep saying this, I will get to this, I could have bought that stick quite happily and then played it with Mortal Kombat 11, because there's actually some shortcuts you can use that they specifically catered to fighting stick users, which I'll get onto momentarily, which if you didn't have a fight stick would make no sense for you to use these controls without having a fight stick. Now I need to remember all the points I said I'll get to, because if I forget any of those, someone's bound to mention in the comment section, oh, you said you'd get to this part, you didn't get to this part. Well, sorry, I'm human, I forget things. So yeah, you do need a block button when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11. So and of course I also wanted all 8 buttons, I should say, on there, just in case I need them for any point. Also on the side here, you've got some additional buttons. You've got the PlayStation button, you've got L3 and R3, plus you've got the turbo button and the share button, which is of course very useful. And on the back there you've got the touchpad, which also clicks just like the touchpad does on the PS4, and is also touch sensitive as far as I'm aware. So it has all of the things you've come to expect from the PlayStation 4 controller, just in a far bigger package, so to speak. Now, as I said, when I first started playing Mortal Kombat 11, I wasn't best impressed with this and was going to take it back. With CEX, you get a 2-day money back guaranteed. You get a change your mind option, shall we say. So at any point, 48 hours after you buy said stick, or should I say close of business of 48 hours, because technically if it's 48 hours, I'd have to go back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to return it, but of course I've got until close of business tomorrow. You can take back the item you've bought for a complete refund, as far as I'm aware. I think it's a complete refund. It may just be a voucher in that case, anyway, because I'm not sure whether I'm going to take this back yet. Anyway. So yeah, when I first played Mortal Kombat 11, I wasn't impressed. And that's because I was using every single button on this stick. And it was very cumbersome, shall we say. Also, I should mention, and this is something I did say earlier that I would bring up, is it was beginning to really hurt with this. Because obviously I'm hammering away and it was making the whole hand hurt. In fact, just doing that makes my hand hurt, actually. Because obviously, as I said, that hand is obviously weakened. Then I watched a tutorial online. It's literally a 1 minute, 34 second video, really short video, and it just shows you a different way of using this, an arcade stick with Mortal Kombat 11 with the default layout and button layout. And as soon as I saw that, it all made sense. So, in Mortal Kombat 11, there are some additional things you can do with some of the moves. You can extend a move or some of them, you can amplify a move essentially. And there's something else called fatal blows, and then there's throws. So if you wish to amplify a move, when you do a special move or have you want to amplify the move, you just hit. You can either do R1 or L1, I think it is, which on this stick is a bit cumbersome to reach over here and do it, or you can just tap front punch and back punch, which is square and triangle on the PS4 together, and you'll then perform a amplify. If you want to do a throw, it's just X and square together, which again is very easy, you know. And the final thing, and also there are various other, you know, shortcuts that use those two configurations of buttons. And there's one final thing you can do in Mortal Kombat 11, which is called a fatal blow. When you get below 30% health, you can enact what's called a fatal blow, which is a major damaging move, and the whole point of it is to try and swing the balance of the fight back in your favour. And you can execute that by pressing these three buttons down here, or of course if you're using a controller it's just L2 and R2, but you know, it's far easier just to whack those buttons on an arcade stick and away you go. And once I worked that one out, I was actually enjoying this stick a lot more. I then decided to play the Dragon Ball Fighters, which is the latest Dragon Ball Z, GT, what have you, Super fighter, and I was having a hell of a lot of fun on that with this. That game is insanely fun with a fight stick. It's just so easy to just bash out some combos and all that kind of stuff using a stick. You know, and every time you're slapping a button and doing all that kind of stuff, there's a certain impact with that, and it's just it was satisfying, to say the least. So yeah, I haven't completely decided whether I'm keeping it, because there are a couple of things that are going around in my brain. I have sort of, I said earlier, whether it's a complete refund or whether it's a voucher. If there's a voucher, obviously I'm not going to take it back, because there's little point me just simply getting a CEX voucher for £58. Oh yeah, I should say this was £58. I only paid 43 because I had 14/15 worth of voucher, but this was £58, which is on the higher end of the consumer range of sticks, and you're getting into the premium range. This is like the low end of the premium range. I mean, this stick brand new is £200, and between £150 to £200. So it's a decent stick, and the most expensive stick I've had so far. I've had the budget stick, which was the Venom stick. I've had the Real Arcade Pro 3, which I used for quite some time. The issue with that was it wasn't PS4 compatible. So it depended on the game in which you used it with. The Venom stick, the problem with that was it didn't have all of the extra buttons you needed for a PS4. So it didn't have the touchpad, it didn't have the share buttons, PlayStation buttons, all that kind of stuff. So you had to use a controller anyway. But with this, you have all those different buttons just in case you need them, obviously. But yeah, I am enjoying the stick somewhat. A few people I've spoken to and asked them, shall I keep it? I've said, yeah, you should keep it. But we'll see where things go. Obviously right now, you know, yeah, it physically hurts sometimes to use it, but you know, that will go away as time goes on. So the other thing I want to talk about is I've been on nights this week at work. Apart from crossing my finger underneath a concrete lintel, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. When I was first going to the nights, I was kind of like, you know, here we go again, because I did nights for 10 years. For those of you that don't know, and I was kind of thinking, here we go. But no, each night has gone incredibly fast, to be honest, and I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing. Kind of sucks that I'm on light duties and can't, you know, smells a bit. Can't really get, you know, too involved, but at the end of the day, is what it is. You know, I can only do what I do. Luckily, I'm a forklift driver, and therefore I can just plant my arse on a forklift, and you know, I don't have to do any of the heavy lifting I'm not allowed to do right now. Anyway, I thought I would, bring back a little time for a cuppa. For those of you that remember time for a cuppa. I'm going to go away now, relax for a bit, got a few videos to watch online, and I'll go from there. You know the spiel, guys. Give me a like or a dislike depending on how you're feeling about this video. If your feelings are more complicated, then please pop a comment down into the comment section down below. As I do like to say, YouTube is a social media platform. Let's make it social. Let's take it back from the trolls. And if you haven't already, you can stick around by pressing the subscribe button. It's big, it's red, it's free. If you wish to stay up to date with what I do, then please hit the bell icon. Make sure the quotations are around it and you receive a notification to your device of choice every time I upload a video. And as always, guys, you've been a very patient and supportive audience, and until next time, please take care, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.